Never seen that move before, but it works, so appreciate it. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is Nicholas Milano. I'm the town administrator here in town. Appreciate you all coming out to engage with us about the future of the East Milton Fire Station. I just wanted to do a few welcoming remarks and a few thank yous. So first, thank you to Joan and Kevin for letting us use this wonderful space here at the Milton Arts Center, the former East Milton Library. Whenever we call, they say, of course, and how can we help? So first, thanks to Joan and Kevin for having us here this evening. I just, as a way of introduction, so there are a few members of the select board here, and State Rep Richard Wells, /select board member /Chief Wells, so thank you. I saw the select board chair Ben Zoll, Winston Daly is here, and newly elected John Driscoll, so welcome John, and good to see you. Thank you for joining us. And also just note that Fire Chief Chris Madden is here, as well as Brian Walsh, who's the chair of the Fire Station Building Committee, which is one of the reasons we're here. So just as background, so everybody's aware, Fire Station Headquarters building was completed last year. It opened in February of last year, and they've been operating out of there since then. East Milton Station is under construction now at its new location on Adams Street, 432 Adams Street, adjacent to St. Agatha's. If you haven't driven by, it has come out of the ground, and you can really see the work that's happening. For a long time, it feels like nothing's happening, and all of a sudden, there's a structure there. So that work is well underway. About another year of construction left. So next fall, we expect that the fire department will be moving into that station, which means that the station here in East Milton that's been in place there for decades will no longer be of use to the fire department, which is what brings us to this evening tonight. Some for additional background in terms of process, the select board last fall, or early part of this year, issued a request for expressions of interest to solicit feedback and some ideas from folks as to what future use of that station could be. We didn't get anything formally. We got a lot of phone calls of folks expressing interest, but not really giving us much concrete to work from. That they were interested and very excited to participate in a public procurement to take over that building and take over that site, but wanted to wait to put their ideas out there until they were in competition with others. So that is kind of the first step we've taken. The second step is inviting the community here this evening to kind of a little bit more deliberately seek ideas and thoughts. Any future process and any future use of that site will likely involve a very public process, whether it is a procurement to sell or lease the building, sell or lease the site, would require multiple engagements, whether it's a select board and the town meeting. And that process will also entail what items and features the board would like to see out of it. Does the select board want to sell it for best price and let a private entity determine with zoning and everything else what goes there? Does the select board want to put different restrictions on it that can only be used for certain kinds of uses? All of these pieces of information make it important to future use of that. And I would be remiss to say that if there are folks who think it should remain a town asset, you know, we want to hear what those ideas are, as there is another factors there to consider, including cost and location and access and other items. So that's just really the big picture as to what brought us here this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Javier and Sasha from MAPC, who will lead us through the work tonight, which will involve a lot of group discussion, big group, little group discussion. So anyway, I just wanted to appreciate, one last thing, I just want to note that the United Congregational Church had an asset mapping initiative earlier, maybe last month. So in keeping with that kind of general idea, we'll coordinate with them to share feedback as both groups kind of take steps forward on the reuse of their buildings and sites. And with that, I'll turn it over to Javier and Sasha. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Good evening. Good evening. You guys can do better than that. Good evening. Good evening. Well, thank you. Thank you again. My name is Javier Gutierrez, and thank you, Nick. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. It is a pleasure to be in space with you. I am one of two co-facilitators, and I'll let my colleague introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sasha Prodi, and I'll be joining Javier in facilitating today.
Great. Well, thank you, Sasha. So we are from MAPC, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, which is the regional planning agency for 101 cities and towns in the region. We work across in a varied of topics, and one of them is community engagement and facilitation. So we bring skills and conversations in the community. For today's conversations, we are the least important in the room. Today's conversation is going to be about you. It's going to be a lot of group conversations. It's going to be a lot of collaboration. It's going to be a lot of ideas. But before we get to the agenda a little bit, I really want to just introduce to the group three group agreements or three ways of being in space. Since many of us are going to be in groups, talking among each other, moving around, etc., I just want to highlight three things to ground ourselves in the work today. Number one, listen for understanding, not disagreement. Number two, consider the opinions and experiences of others. Number three, bring a spirit of experimentation and creativity. Today, we're going to run this workshop or this conversation as an invitation. So everything we ask of you, it's an invitation to participate. You do not have to. You can sit back and listen, but you will be asked to participate. You will be asked to turn to your colleague, to work in small tables, think about ideas, and there's actually a group activity which you will be actually asked to stand up and move around the room and generate some ideas as we move in the process. So for today's conversation, we're looking at a couple things. Nick already did the welcome and purpose. We're going to do an icebreaker, which I call an impromptu network. Then we're going to get to conversations around the benefits of the old firehouse. We're going to talk about a little bit about what could the vision be. And lastly, we're going to get into observations and meaning, and then we're going to close it off. And then our goal is to get you out of here by 9 o'clock. So we are in a time limit here, but we'll promise you by 9 o'clock we'll be out of here. All right? So let's get started. So the first invitation of the group is called Impromptu Network. What I want everybody to think about is the question around: think of a private, public, or both space you have entered. What made it great? Think of a private, public, or both space that you have entered. What made it great? So the invitation for you is to turn to your partner. We're going to do 2 rounds. The first round is just turn to your partner. You're going to have 2 minutes to answer some questions, to highlight some of these answers. After the 2 minutes, I'm going to ring the bell. After I ring the bell, I'm going to ask you again to turn to another partner. And the second conversation will be, what came out in your conversations? What were some of the themes? What spoke to you? And then we're going to come back, and we're just going to do a round robin and generate some ideas. Does that work? Great. So the question is, think of a private or public or both space you have entered, and really think about what made it great. All right, you have 2 minutes. Turn to your partner. You have 2 minutes. There's some papers in the sticky notes on the table. Please feel free to outline. right, thank you for that. Now I want you to turn to a different person, and I want you to share what you heard from the previous conversation. What came out in that conversation? You have 2 minutes. Pick a different person. I want you to share what came out in your previous conversation. Are there any themes that came out? After 2 minutes, I'll ring the bell again, and we'll come back and do a round robin. All right, thank you, everybody. So thank you. I see a lot of great conversations happening at the table. So what we'll do now is we'll take about 2 minutes to hear what came up. Any volunteers? What came out on your table? The only thing is you're going to have to be patient with me.
I don't need a mic.
Perfect.
So my neighbors tell me. Mark Croninger, town meeting member, precinct 7. We have to say that stuff here without getting yelled at. I was in Portugal in Porto last fall, and what struck me about that was across the river from Porto, if anybody's been there. Along the river, there's a bunch of decrepit, older, at one time maybe beautiful buildings, but now they're decrepit, older. But what they require them to do, because it's a huge amount of investment, is if you want to build something in there, and they're making hotels and all that stuff, you have to leave the facade up. And you have to work within the constraints of what the historical kind of look was that ran along the river in Porto. So they're reconstructing these buildings from the inside, basically, leaving the outside up. And I think that, we talk about things like this, while that's not, in the U.S., Smithsonian is a historical site, it does have some charm. Greg mentioned that in Boston, they redeveloped some firehouses into condos and stuff and left marks there of the fire department, or left those buildings there. So I think making a nod to what was there and not just putting up some giant box, because we'll certainly have a big box to look at in a few months, would be a good idea.
Sure.
It worked very well in Portugal from what I saw.
Thank you so much. Others? What came out? What came out in your conversations? Yes, sir.
So, two things. One, that older buildings have a certain integrity and a certain character, and trying to maintain that character and that integrity, whatever the use is. And then second, that how the space needs to evolve and change as the needs of the community change.
Thank you. One more. In the back. Cheryl.
Ours was a place for community, was a concept theme, and a place for access, a place where all feel welcome and that all have access.
Thank you. Sir, you want to say something in the back? No, that you. Yeah.
Well, we work out as a group here, and I want to make sure that we got that first, but we have some others that access, easy to get to, and to accommodate you, for example, parking, et cetera.
Great. Thank you. So we're hitting a place, what makes a place great is a place that meets people's needs, a place that is adaptive, community, access, a place with character, with integrity, a facade with a historic look. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we took it a little bit different than that. Well, we did write down access and community. We also talked about, I think your prompt was what makes you feel maybe safe or great. So we talked about light and scale of a building. So the natural light can come into the building, but also the scale of it, not too big, not too small. So when you go in, you feel welcomed, kind of like this space, right? It's a nicely sized with a lot of light coming in here.
Great. Thank you. Natural light. Yes, miss.
Just as a different perspective, someone from our table felt that we should sell land because the town needs money and maybe it could be useful in that way, which is a very different perspective than what you said so far.
Thank you.
Limit, I'm thinking about it since we've discussed it, but maybe want to put limits on it based on some of this input on what they could put there. But at the end of the day, try to get the maximum amount of money for it, and give it back to the town that way.
And you will have chance to talk about that in the next breakout sessions. So hold that thought.
Point here. So when you talk about, I mean, I'd say we talk about a lot of grandiose places all over the world, but if you talk about in this community, you're standing in the place where if it's on a public-private act, this is a public-private endeavor between the nonprofit, the Milton Arts Center, and the town of Milton that owns this building, which is a former library. And if you want to articulate all the things that you have written on that piece of paper right there, they all live right here. So anyone who graces this door, whether they come once a year or on a monthly basis, they understand what that is. And so you don't have to look much beyond the end of your nose to realize that it exists right in front of you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I'll turn it to Sasha.
Awesome. Thank you, Javier. And thanks so much, everybody, for sharing these ideas. I think this is a really great start. And now we're going to get into some more specific brainstorming about what is possible with the old fire station building. So folks mentioned the space we're in tonight. You mentioned a lot of other great qualities about what makes a space feel good. And so we want to hear from you what you would like out of this old fire station. So we're going to do this in a few rounds. So the first round is silent reflection. You're going to get 1 minute. There are Post-it notes on the table. And this is brainstorming time. Any idea goes. It can be as out there as possible. We just want to know what you want. So just on sticky notes, start writing down what uses for this old fire station that you want.
What uses?
Yeah. What uses? Or how might the old firehouse be used? And that can be public use, it could be private use, it could be a public-private partnership. We're looking at all ideas right now. We will get into the nitty-gritty of it later, but for now, just start brainstorming, and then we'll tell you what the next round is.
Do you want one per note?
No, as many. Okay.
We want as many notes, as many ideas as you have, so write as many notes as possible.
One per post-it?
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's just for your discussion. So write down, it can be one idea per Post-it, all ideas on one Post-it, however you want.
All right.
take a few more seconds to write down your ideas. Okay, for this next round, hello. For this next round, you're going to turn to your neighbor. If there's somebody at your table who you haven't spoken to yet, maybe that's your new neighbor that you turn to, and you're going to share the ideas that you brainstormed. You're going to have about 4 minutes, so discuss your ideas with your neighbor. Okay. Javier, where are the buttons? Okay, for this next round, you will have 10 minutes to discuss your ideas with your table. And as you're discussing these ideas, talk about the pros and cons. If it's a public use, how would that public use happen? How would that be funded? What is needed? What are the obstacles in the way? If it's a private use, I think somebody here mentioned what constraints that you might be able to put on a private vendor in the space. What might some of those constraints be? So dig in a little bit to the meat of your ideas, not just what you want, but how would it be possible in this world, in this current iteration of the world that we're in. So you'll have 10 minutes to discuss with your tables, and then after that, we're going to share out what you discussed. minutes. You have 5 minutes left.
What they send in would be public?
We go to sell any kind of land. Generally have to pass all the so that's, I think from our perspective, what they would do is open it up, see what we got, and use that, but you don't really, it's hard, because you kind of either have to do it or not. You can't really do it now. We're really trying to get out of this. Kind of like the big picture is like, really want to do they okay with all this? Like, 'cause that's one thing we put in our page. Building should be torn down. Building has to stay. So like these are kind of like the big picture stepping blocks. Right, but maybe. Yeah, I agree. However, if a private developer is willing to do it like cheap. So we had a lot of those conversations. A lot of them were we do restaurant, we buy it, we probably want to do something. So it's very kind of vague because they have to, in our process, they have to participate in this way we can say, all right, we want to keep the building, but otherwise it's a free for all. So that we put on our view that if it's a good size building, and then or we put on our bid, well, we have the other thing is in our world, we can brain things. We can say active use like restaurant, we got proposal for one foot traffic. What makes it hard is we can't negotiate. So follow all the but the times are right, and even us, so maybe a construction engineer would come in and say, all that is overkill, all you're gonna have is one warehouse and that's it's hard. So it makes our that's part of it. We should try to narrow this a little bit.
Okay. So now we're going to go to the whole room, and we'd love to hear what ideas came up and what were some of the pros and cons of those ideas that you discussed. Would anyone like to share? Yeah.
Hi, yeah. One question is, that came out of this table is, what is the condition of the building? And it would be helpful to have some...
You just asked $1 million question.
Well, let me finish it. Just, the fact that for people that might not be thinking forward, if the building is in terrible shape, it's going to be too expensive for the town to renovate it, even to do any kind of community-based activity. So really, do you guys have information you can share with us that might kind of refine what we're really talking about?
Sure, I think It's hard to quantify today. I think just putting it in general public construction terms might be helpful. You know, right now for public construction, we're talking about $1,000 a square foot to do anything for new construction even. So now you're talking about renovating a 1950 building that probably has some contaminated materials throughout it, will require extensive demolition and rehabilitation. So our world for construction is much more expensive than the regular private market. So I don't want to answer that directly because it's challenging. I'll just say, think about it in terms of $1,000 a square foot to build new in the public construction market today. What that might be in the future will go up. To do a renovation will go up. Chief Chris Madden is here. If he can probably give a couple minutes on kind of what the building looks like. Chief, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, just to give a little bit of feedback to that direct question.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you haven't been in the firehouse, it's a garage with a one livable floor above the garage. It was built as a bomb shelter back in the 50s, so the building itself is very sturdy. I don't believe that it's going to fall down. But I will say that there are some challenges anytime to go upgrade for electrical, plumbing, infrastructure, right? You know, for information technology, that stuff. There's a lot of work that really needs to be done. The one thing that challenge that we did experience, and you know, Mr. Walsh from the fire station building helped on this, is the apparatus bay floor was cracking in several spots, and we had to have that repaired. And now the basement is basically a lumber yard with a bunch of shoring put there. And the structural engineer said that she is very comfortable with the building staying the way it is, but she just didn't like the idea of a fire truck being parked on that. So we had to move one of our spare engines out of that building, so we only have one engine there now. So that's the challenges that we had as a fire department. So I hope that helped you out.
And I'll just add one other item if you're interested in some future additional reading. On the town website on the Fire Station Building Committee page is the 2015 Fire Station Space Needs Study Report, and includes an existing conditions analysis of all 3 stations there. It doesn't go into hazardous materials and any kind of abatement that would need to be done, but it gives a good overview as of 10 years ago as the structure of each facility, the challenges it would face, the challenges to bring it up to accessibility requirements and to meet current code. So all that information is on the Fire Station Building Committee page. But sorry for a long-winded answer, but it would be challenging for the town to renovate, and we certainly pay a premium when it comes to any kind of public construction project.
Thank you. Okay, yes.
How many square feet is the land? How many square feet is the station? And how far can you go up the building? Yes, the planning board.
Do you know?
I don't know if we want to try to get back to some ideas. So the square footage of the land, I think it was like 25,000 square feet, if I remember. I'm throwing a number out there, and I'm trying to. No, that would be half an acre. I have it written down. I will pull it out. Under the current zoning, there's a new East Milton mixed-use overlay, which would allow up to 3 stories as of right, and this parcel is within that district.
If I could, I'd like to add, Brian Walsh, the Fire Station Building Committee, we did a lot of work looking at this, et cetera. One of the interesting challenges that we had as it being a fire station was literally, there's really only 2 real parking spots, maybe a third, outside of the building itself. So in other words, the lot is currently occupied mostly by the building. So whatever the future would hold, there's not a lot of parking available unless somebody were to, change the building and or buy another, a running lot, which of course would be difficult, expensive, right?
So I'm hearing in terms of potential challenges with this building, expensive, not much parking. It would require a lot of work in order for there to be anything in it. Do folks have other ideas okay, I'm seeing a lot of hands. I'll start with you, and then we'll continue down the room.
Counselor, I just want to know what was comparable to the fire station that we just renovated. Is that the same age?
Totally different, I would say. headquarters versus
No, the old
The old one,
one
that was abandoned, it's gonna be public space. The old one that they just redid?
It's not a fire station.
Yeah, so
It's not a fire station anymore, but
it was a couple $1 million to renovate that. That was mostly exterior work, masonry work, and an interior renovation of just the first floor alone to put in new bathrooms and a meeting room. So the second and third floor are untouched, but it was a couple $1 million of work on the old headquarters right behind Town Hall. It was a couple million. Yep.
One thing about us, of course, that most, if you were building fire stations today, as we're doing, you would not leave an open space below, floor below, and so the old headquarters would not have that. That makes it a lot less concerning or expensive to reach out to anything. These building stations we talked about tonight, in fact, has a space below, and even though we were moving out of it, we had to spend $50,000 shoring up the floor, just to kind of continue until we come out of that fire station. It's the old stations with the open space below, and had such heavy structural water in it, they probably have some interesting challenges.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna go to you, yes?
Yeah, so speaking of one of the challenges that's up there about not much parking, so we thought at the table that if we created a place that, for those of us that live and work in the neighborhood, in the area, that we could want to walk to. And it's a kind of destination for the people that are in the area already, so they need to help alleviate some of that parking issue. So we wrote down a cafe with some sort of indoor outdoor seating, bakery, coffee shop, bookstore, and then some sort of, maybe community space or teaching kitchen that could be part of whatever business could potentially move in there.
Okay, so a commercial space that folks could access via walking, kind of in the neighborhood, with maybe some potential community space embedded in there. Okay, yes.
We also talked about, in conjunction with maybe doing a cafe, really embracing sort of the history of the East Milton neighborhood, which for those of you who were here when we were doing the East Milton overlay zoning, it was really important that we maintain some of the historic buildings and find new purposes. And one of the things is, for anyone who knows, this is the site of the oldest, the original railroad in the country. So the Granite Railroad that ran through East Milton, there could be museum space, because I know people always talk about having some sort of tribute to the original first railroad in the United States.
Okay, so preserving the history of East Milton, specifically about the Granite Railroad.
Cafe, ice cream shop,
Yeah.
activated.
Mixed kind of commercial space with some historic preservation included in there, or historic celebration, I might say. You with the glasses, and then we'll go to you second. Sorry that I'm pointing. Yes.
So our table, we talked that cafe came up, bookstore came up, cafe also came up. But what we really spoke about was the need to make sure that the community has an input on what type of business goes in there. Because the concern, I think, is if it goes to the top bidder, it's a nail salon or a bank or something like that. But we also need to make sure that it stays revenue positive for the town. So how do you thread that needle of getting something like a bookstore or a cafe in there that might provide some community benefit? I'm just saying that because my kid would be very appreciative. But the community would benefit from it, also wouldn't be a burden on the community, where it would still be producing some revenue. So I think that's where we were trying to figure out, are there creative ways to ensure that whatever gets moved into there, whether it's through the RFP process or not through selling, through leasing the building, that we can consider that.
Yep, so having some kind of public participation process for determining private use of space, if that's the direction it goes, and then more support for a cafe or commercial space that would bring revenue to the town. Are there other ideas? And I would encourage, if you said cafe, commercial space, bookstore, that's great. We have it written down. So I would love to hear ideas that are not that. Okay, let's go to you, and then we'll go to others. Sorry, there's a person behind you, and then we'll go to you.
So I've lived here for 20 years, and when we first...
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
It is me.
Yes.
Joan Paul, and
At our table, we talked about how could we make it support a public-private partnership, much like this art center that we are in today, and maybe lease it, like a long lease, and make the tenant responsible for the build-out of that, whatever they're gonna, it will be. The first floor have retail, non-food, non-chain, like, I don't know if any people in this room remember Earthly Possessions at the Marketplace, an old private dime, a little book room, a general store, a florist, and lease it to a Milton resident, you know, upstairs, office space for professionals who maybe work at home in a bigger space, and then, you know, but lease it to Milton residents.
Okay. Yes, thank you for sharing that. So something that's a private-public partnership, much like the space we're in today, the Milton Art Center, and then maybe a mixed-use space with downstairs retail and upstairs rentable space, but specifically for the Milton community. Okay, I think there was somebody right here who had raised their hand, and then I see your hand as well. But we're going to start with you. Yes.
I think with the uncertainty as to what's going to happen in the town with these two apartment complexes that are going up, I think it's important that you don't know what it's going to be like downtown in the next couple of years, so that it's important that the town keep control of that building for a while to see what happens. I think that's important. There shouldn't be a rush to do something right now. But whatever we do, we don't want it to, we have space issues, we have traffic issues, we have parking issues, and I think it's important that whatever we do doesn't make that worse. And we want something that's good for the community, because it is a town. It's a town of neighborhoods, actually. I think we talked about storefronts, we talked about a fire museum, possibly, a historical society, maybe a police substation or an EMT substation, and we like that storefront idea too.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Yeah, so maybe considering timelines that account for changes that we might be seeing in the town, and then thinking about benefits to the community.
I'll add one more, no housing.
Okay, no housing, and then you also mentioned things that won't exacerbate traffic or parking. Okay, you in the blue sweater, and then we'll pass it to your neighbor at the table after that.
So there used to be, I heard it, somebody back here said there, and this is back to the book thing, but there used to be a place called the Little Book Room in East Milton. And it was one of the things we don't have in this town, and I can say this as a relatively new grandmother, is places for kids to play indoors. And the Little Book Room was the combination of all of those things. It was a bookstore, it was a cafe, it had all kinds of activities for the kids to do. So it sort of solved for all of those things. I do also agree with Ben that it needs to be the notion that Milton's going to be able to do this itself seems impossible. The question is whether or not the town can maintain enough control to control what is going to happen in space.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So a book room that would combine maybe commercial with some community space, and specifically, I think something we hadn't heard yet is space for children.
Oh, no, that's a commercial. It was a commercial space, 100% commercial space.
Yep.
But it involved, we have so many young kids in this town now with nothing to do in the winter or when they can't go to the parks.
Great. Okay, and we'll pass it to your neighbor, and then we are going to close out this section, but we are going to move into getting further into these ideas. So don't worry if you haven't had a chance to speak. Yes, go ahead.
Who makes the final decision?
Kind of depends on which direction, but ultimately, select board would be responsible for putting out an RFP for private use. Town meeting, if it's a sale, for example, town meeting would need to approve any sale of land. If it's a public use, by the flip side, obviously likely would have to be put forward by the select board, and then town meeting would have to appropriate money to pay for it. So select board, town meeting engagement, if the potential future use didn't meet current zoning, then that's where the planning board, zoning board, and other boards may be involved. But select board town meeting is the most likely pathway.
We are going to close out this section unless you have burning questions.
I just want to make, you go. I just want to make a comment to her point. So, as Gina Walsh knows, the fire chief, Gene Sullivan, who also sits in the fire station building committee. Those of you, Schwartz, and people who sat on the select board, the town spent 2 years, as you know, in East Milton, trying to find a place to build the fire station. The chief knows, and we were about ready to give up until the former vice chair of the committee, Dan Clark, found what he thought was how big of a building lot next to St. Agnes. And we were also told by the architects that the cost of that would probably be close to $1 million to buy. That would be the commercial value. And Brian and I went and negotiated a lease with St. Agnes. They initially didn't want to sell it to us. They wanted to only enter into a 99-year lease. They didn't want to sell the property. And it took a lot of negotiating, and we were finally able to buy that half an acre, which is building a brand new beautiful fire station for this section. Two important things to remember that everyone in this town is sitting here tonight. And I am very much, most of you know me, I'm a man of my word. We had to borrow $900,000. We went to town meeting, we asked to borrow $960,000 to buy that piece of land at the time. At the same time, the fire station building committee got an estimate because town meeting wanted to know what would this building be worth. And the estimated cost at that time, with Arthur was chair, was between $800,000 and $1 million. And that we would have to make that $900,000 borrowing whole. And they gave it to us. And to me, I've lived by that. And even though I know this has a commercial value, all these ideas, as far as if it would be sold and now we went out, all fall into that as far as I'm concerned. But to me, I believe we owe that money back to the town. And I'll give you the final reason. We still have to build a fire station for the west side of town. We are out of money. We have spent all of the money that was appropriated by the town meeting in 2020, I believe, to build what we thought would have been enough to build 3 fire stations. It turned out to only be enough to build 2. And it may very well be that town meeting could, if we were to sell it and fill a vision that meets much of what we talked about tonight, that perhaps that money could go back towards building Engine 4. Because that side of town is one of the busiest, that station today is, that's the chief, and I'm not talking Logan, probably one of the busiest fire stations in town. And we owe that side of town to finish this project. We owe these firefighters to build that side of town 20% of the facility, just to be enough ahead of what is it at least for me, as one member of the select board, I intend to live up to my mission. And that's really important people need to be aware. Because that was a hard ask to go to town meeting, and that's like $1 million for a piece of property, and I would never forget if we voted to do that. So
Thank you for your comment. Thank you. I saw one hand in the back. We'll go to you, and then we will wrap this section. If folks have comments that you feel you absolutely need to give us, please write them down on a Post-it note, and we will incorporate them.
I'm going to give you some information to the question about how much land is there. It's 7,020 square feet.
Okay, thank you. And in the back.
I'd like to see a gym, multi-family gym.
Okay.
Those of you who have weight room there, disgusting. It's not at all what our athletes deserve. The kids are tripping over each other. So if you kind of designated certain hours of the day that little high kids work out there, then you could rent the space out to Pilates, yoga, kickboxing, boxing. You could generate some revenue that way. You wouldn't have to do much of the work. You just need an open space and fill with equipment.
Okay, thank you. Did you have?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, just to piggyback off of Mr. Wells, we had to go search for a piece of land and buy it off of someone, so we're not getting any more land. So here we have a piece of property in the town. Maybe we shouldn't give that right away, and it should be in our control. And that way, if anything comes up, because the town's only getting larger with more apartment buildings,
Thank you, everybody, for your comments. I'm hearing a lot of care about how this space is used, and across the board, desire for it to be beneficial for the Milton community. Some themes that I heard were concerns around how much it might cost, concerns around the burden that that might place on the town's finances. On the flip side of that, I also heard desire for control or input on how that space is used, even if it does go to a private vendor or through a procurement process. And we heard a lot of great ideas for different types of uses that would be commercial, but also offer space for people to visit the building and be in it, whether that is a bookstore or a gym or a coffee shop of some sort. So we are going to move into the next section for this evening. We really appreciate all the ideas you've brought. Again, if you felt like you didn't get a chance to share ideas from this section that you want to make sure we have written down, if you bring us your Post-its at the end of the night tonight, we will make sure to incorporate that. I'm going to pass it to Javier.
Great, thank you, Sasha. And just a reminder, there's two large flip charts on the side of the room. If you have questions, comments, please feel free to post them on the flip charts, and that will help us generate and report back all the conversations that have happened tonight. So in terms of the next step, we're gonna do a little bit of an activity that's going to allow everybody to move around. And I'll let Sasha is passing index cards to your tables. Please, once she leaves the index cards, please take one. Please do not write on them. Just take in the index card when she puts them on the table, and then I'll give you directions. Just a little bit note on this exercise. It will get complicated. It will require a little bit of math, but I think that we will be able to solve it, all right? Again, it'll be an invitation, and it's an activity that allows for us having fun, moving around, but at the same time getting to know each other better, all right? So I'll give it a minute. Please grab one card. Do not write on the card, and once Sasha is done, I will give you the next steps. Does everybody have if you have an index card, please raise it up so I can see that you have an index card. If you have an index card, just raise your hand so we know that everybody has an index card. Okay, thank you. Now you can put your index card down. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you the question that you're gonna answer. You're only allowed to put one response in that index card. You're only allowed to put one response to the question I will ask you, one response. Once you write that response, what you'll do is you'll raise it up high to let us know that you're done with that card, okay? Just know that the response that you're going to put on this card will travel around the room at least 3 times. So it will be readable by others, all right? So again, just bear with me. I'll take you step by step. I'll read the question. I'll allow you 1 minute to think about the response. After that, I will I will ask you to write one response in this card. I'll give you about 2 minutes for that. I'll ring the bells, and then I will ask you I will let you know about the next steps. So here's the question. Well, before I get to the question, any questions?
What's the question?
Okay, I'll get to that. And again, just a reminder, this is an invitation, right? Everything that we're doing tonight, it's an invitation. It's an invitation for you to participate. You do not have to. You can sit back and just watch the show happen, but it's only an invitation. So here we go. Here's the question. The old firehouse is a unique part of our community. If you could imagine its future, name one use or possibility that you would like to see it be explored. Right? One use. The old firehouse is a unique part of the community. If you can imagine the future, name one use or possibility that you would like to see the firehouse be explored. Think about this as a private or mixed-use purpose, right? Only one. I'll give you 2 minutes. Once you finish with a response, raise your card, and then we'll keep moving. Remember, you're putting one response. And when you finish, please raise your card so I know you're finished. Keep your cards up. Does anybody need an English card? Okay. Just one more minute. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right, listen up. So in terms of next steps, I want everybody to stand up. I want everybody to stand up. Just remember, this is an invitation. You don't have to. Please, just stand up. Do not do anything with a card. Do not talk to your neighbor. Just stand up. All right. Okay. So what's going to happen next, when I ring the bell, I want you to walk around the room and just pass your card. I do not want you to talk to anybody. I just want you to walk around the room and pass your idea. Once I ring the bell, everybody's going to stop. They're going to raise their index cards, and then they're going to trade. All right? So when I ring the bell, the invitation is for everybody to start walking around the room and just start passing the card to the person who you're bumping into. Then I will ring the bell again. Once I ring the bell, wait. Don't start. Listen to the bell. Once I ring the bell, then you can start. All right? All right. Yep. Remember, you need to pass a card multiple times to multiple people. Keep passing the card. Do not stop. Just keep passing the card. right, stop. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're ready. All right. Does everybody have a pen with them? If you do not have a pen, get a pen. Sasha's walking around passing out pens. If you do not have a pen, please let Sasha know and she'll give you a pen. Pen? All right. Everybody, I need your attention, please. I need your attention. I need your attention. All right? Now what you're going to do is you're going to look at the card. You're going to read what's on the card. Once you read it, you're going to give it a score. The score can be 1, that's not my cup of tea today, or up to 5. I should have thought about this yesterday, right? And anything in between, right? You're going to give it 1 score. 1, that's not my cup of tea today. Or 5 in between, and the max is 5. The max is 5. I should have had thought about that yesterday. You're only going to put 1 score, between 1 and 5. Once you're done, raise your card.
Wait, 1 bad, 5 good.
And anything in between. Once you're done, raise your hand. Raise your card. All right. At the ring of the bell, we're gonna do a round 2. I'm gonna ring the bell, and you're gonna start moving again and start passing the cards. Ready? Go. All right, remember to pass the card to multiple people. Keep walking. I see many of you just standing around. You need to keep walking and passing the card. Keep walking and pass the card. All right, raise your card. Raise your card. When you're finished, raise your card. All right. All right. So the second step is you're going to look at your card. You're going to read what's on the card, and you're going to give it a number between 1 and 5. 1 meaning, this is not my cup of tea today, to 5 meaning, I should have thought this about yesterday. And when you're finished grading, raise your card. When you finish writing the number, raise your card. Okay, at this time, there should only be 2 numbers on the card, right? There shouldn't be more than 2 numbers. There should only be 2 numbers between 1 and 5. All right, and we're going to do it one more time as the last round. Again, I'm going to ring the bell, and the invite is for everybody to start walking around and start passing the card again. right, you need to be passing the card. Be passing the card. Continue walking, be passing the card. Do not stop. All right, when you're done, raise your card. When you're done, raise your card. All right. Thank you. So now the next step, we're going to do a little bit of math. You should have 3 numbers in back of your card. What I want you to do is I want you to add them, write the total, and circle the sum. You should have 3 numbers in back of your card. Add them, write the total, and circle the sum. When you're done, raise your card. Does everybody have a total in their card? Okay. Now, next steps, what I will do is I will start calling off numbers, right? Once I call your number, start walking towards the front and give your card to Sasha. Oh, it's okay. All right. All right. You ready? All right, who has 15? Who has 15? All right. 15. Anybody has 15? Total of 15. Red Lobster. 14. If you have a total of 14, please bring your card up to me. 14. $14. 13. I'll start walking. 13. 13. 13. 13. Thank you. Anybody else has 13? Just give me 1 minute so Sasha can write the ideas and put them on the flip chart, and we'll finish it off soon.
I can see
it. 12. Anybody has 12? Huh? All right, everybody else, I'll walk around and I'll collect the rest of the cards, and then you can have a. Actually, you can have a seat now. We invite you to have a seat, and then I'll walk around and collect the rest of the cards. Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you again for participating in that activity. I see one card coming. Thank you. Again, this exercise is a good way to generate ideas. So if you ever want to generate quick ideas and create a backlog of ideas very fast in less than 25 minutes, this is a good exercise to do. Now let me ask you, how did this activity feel for you? Did you feel that you participated? Did you feel that you were able to contribute? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Did anybody feel that they couldn't contribute, that they did not feel part of the process? Good. That's good. All right. So I'll pass it to Sasha. I'll pass it to Sasha so she can highlight the top 5, 6 ideas that came to the table. It doesn't mean that these are it all. We will also take into account the other ideas that you provided us, and we'll share it with Nick at the end of the week.
Thank you, Javier. Yeah, and so we're really just trying to get a sense of what folks are interested in the room tonight. So coming in at 15, on 4 different cards, so a couple of the cards were at 15, and then a couple of the other cards were voted like 14 or 13, so a little bit of range, but very consistently was desire for a town-owned leased commercial building that maintains the building's character. So that came in on 4 different cards. Other ideas that came up, with a 14.5, we had a brewery. At 13, we had a co-work space, a bakery and cafe, and then we also had a card that said revenue production through revitalization. And I will just emphasize that a lot of these themes came up in our prior conversation, and I think tied to number 15 up here. And then under 12, we had an incubator space and retail shops.
Thank you, Sasha. So I guess I want to open it up to the space here. What patterns do you see here? Are there any patterns that you see in these ideas? Or the second is, which ideas do you feel are more energized to pursue? Any patterns that you see from what you heard, or are there any of these ideas that make you energized that perhaps the town should pursue? Gentleman in the back.
Town-owned, that was number 1 on the list.
It's town-owned. Others? Yes, sir.
Generating revenue.
Okay. Generating revenue. Okay. Yes, miss.
Probably preserve the integrity and history of the building.
Okay. Preserve the integrity and history of the building. So we have others. What themes came about? What patterns are you seeing, or did you see? And any idea that gets you energized that you think the town should pursue? I'll start here in the back, and then I'll move to the side. Yes, miss.
Enrich the lives of the residents in Milton.
enrich the life of the residents of Milton. Cheryl.
I see local business in these that rose to the top, and variety of business.
Local.
I didn't see nail salon or roof.
Local and variety of businesses.
But we have a lot of them already.
Great, great. One more before we move to the next agenda item. All right. Well, thank you. Now I'll pass it to Sasha.
Okay. So now is our time to talk about what we haven't talked about yet. So if you have a comment, a question, something that you feel like hasn't been raised yet tonight that you want to make sure is shared in this space that we're documenting, now is your time to share. So what have we missed? What have we not discussed that we should talk about before we close out today? Yeah.
Practicality.
Practicality. Can you say more about that?
We don't have all the information.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have building costs. We don't have what can be built there, structural costs, traffic studies. See, we're done traffic studies in town. Go back to those. We need something feasible. I mean, a brewery's level. It's not going to go in East Milton Square. You know, an office building, a huge office building, or apartment building. It's not going to go in East Milton Square. We get enough of those. Small, something small, some people can use or utilize. They can produce revenue for the town. As Richard said, you know, we're $1 million we go over it. We're going to get the $1 million. We can't get enough of schools.
Sorry.
We can't get enough of parks. The building is to upgrade that building. It's going to cost, I would think, $2 to $3 million. Sprinkler systems, handicap bathrooms, asbestos, lead paint, roofs, windows, doors, heating systems. We have to look at practicality of business.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so I'm hearing maybe having more information for further discussion. Yeah.
So the new fire station is open next fall. What happens to this physical building the day after the fire department moves out? Right.
That's why we're doing this now.
No, I understand that. I just mean, the day after they move out, the hope is that someone is owning it, there's another person moving immediately. There's no interim phase where there's no.
I don't know if it'll be immediate, just based on whatever it becomes, just the functional needs, which is the all just talking about. Those are really.
No, I'm sorry. Maybe I phrased it wrong. I'm just wondering, like, what does the building look like? What does the physical space look like in an interim phase between our moved out?
Yeah.
Since it's already being used as a fire station, why couldn't you, after it closes, lease it out to an ambulance company? Since it's still functional as a fire station, so why couldn't they move in and still use it? If they're okay with the space, and then they could possibly fix it up some parts of it, if they needed it.
So in the building of headquarters, the town did extensive work on EMS response in the town. I guess I can talk to this with a degree of expertise on it, because in 30-something years. So, placement of ambulances, because this was a big discussion, Mr. Watson was on potentially putting one at engine 4 because there's like coastal recovery. But from EMS response, if you notice, the ambulances during the day travel at the hospital for much of it, because it's a centralized location in town. Both ambulances. If you put an ambulance over here and then you send that main ambulance goes first, then you get twice as far to go for calls on the other side of town. So from an EMS response, and I don't want to speak for the EMS, but both the past EMS member and the current EMS member goes to speak to this at length, how EMS response should be centralized, because unlike police cruisers and fire stations, which are in districts, EMS in this town responds from the center of town all different ways. It's just the safest, the most efficient way to do it.
Okay, yes.
To follow up on what Anne's point was there, besides ambulances, there are also chair cars. And chair cars do a lot with taking people from rehabs and places like that to appointments. They can use them quite a bit. So that might be something in the interim, to your point, while we're trying to figure out, options. There are things like chair cars that are used in a lot of the facilities.
To lease out.
That now. Yeah, exactly.
Produce some
To get
sort
some
of-
kind of, income in between, that might be an option, because chair cars are used in a lot of the facilities.
So I'm hearing some ideas for interim use of space, if there needed to be an interim use of space. Anything else that wasn't raised today that you feel is important to share or ask about? Yeah.
Just in general terms, I don't have the answer for what the building should be used for, but I think that it's an asset that the town should relish, and that we shouldn't be dispensing assets. I think when we look back, we look at the Kiddo Library, it served as a de facto main library. I know that when the state thought about bidding the property down at the end of Rush Hill Road by Mattapan, there were neighbors in the Blue Hill Parkway area that were concerned about having a place for youth to gather and specific activities. I think that we should maintain our assets. Everything's costly, but to be able to replace a building and land in that location will not come our way again. So I would be very hesitant to unload the property. What its use is, though, I think that's what this section is for. But maintenance of that property as a town asset, I think should be paramount.
Go ahead. Thank you.
The town voted a few years ago to adopt funds for community preservation. And the way we're talking about this building and wanting to keep it as part of our history and make it a community use, I don't know all the requirements to allocate funds, but I wonder if that is something that we should be thinking about and tapping into so that there's money allocated to the use that we would all like to see.
I think that I'm on that committee, as is Cheryl DeGuys. I don't think it would qualify as historic preservation. And the other issue with using CPA money is that you can't use it on buildings and properties that were not acquired with CPA funds. So it's already a town asset, and CPA money is meant to be used for new assets. And so it would be a tough argument, it would be tough to have that qualify.
Thank you for the comment. Yeah, Cheryl.
Will there be other additional outreach mechanisms or tools? I look in the room tonight and I see a lot of folks my age, or, we are an older group that's here, and I think that maybe the time of night can come 2 hours, as some families that with young children that may be hard for them, or to know. So is there going to be a survey or other outreach opportunities, maybe something at the library where people go to programs, so that you can get some robust input from another cross-section that might not be here?
Yeah. Nick, do you want to take that?
At this time, this is the main outreach we had planned, although we'll obviously be reporting back and discussing with the select board at our future meetings.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just based on the feedback, recognizing that CPA funds might not be available, I would just urge that we look at other forms of grants and revenue streams that could possibly be used for the town to keep control of the building by renovating it for future use.
Okay. Yes, I see you.
Just to go into the equation that in a couple of years we're going to have over 100 residential units in East Milton Square. And that could translate minimally to 200 residents. And we have to be thinking about the environment as a whole.
Thank you. I think I saw your hand.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it as a location, is it a viable building, viable lot for the town? And if you look at the value, if you say it's $1 million property, are there other adjacent lots in town, adjacent to town-owned land, that would be more valuable or beneficial to the community? You can add 20,000 square feet of land
to an existing parking that's owned by the town, that might be a greater benefit than spending money here. So try to look at it as a holistic view of the town's needs.
Yep.
Sell this and use that one sort of market.
Yeah, it would make more sense probably.
Yeah. So some themes I've heard, just to recap of, and I see your hand, I'll go to you after. I heard desire for more information so that folks can weigh in given the practicalities of the building. Within that, maybe thinking about what other building or parcels of land exist in the town, and comparing the building to that space, thinking about creative uses or pursuits of grant funds or other pots of money that could help achieve what folks are talking about here today, and desire for additional public input, considering folks who may not have been able to attend today's meeting. Yes, go ahead.
A couple of concerns on that issue about the value of that property, maybe adding somewhere else. I think we have to remember that that property by itself, you can't look at it by itself. There are other properties around it that could easily be bought up and then combined into a bigger property. So it's a different value to different types of people. So obviously it's very attractive to developers. How did the bike shop turn into what it is today? It wasn't one lot, it was multiple lots. So we got to keep that in mind. It could be a placeholder. It could also give us negotiating power in the future. So I think we have enough development going on in this town to jeopardize East Milton Square even more by making that an available parcel that can be combined with other parcels and be developed. We have a problem with traffic. Richard talks about, the ambulances being from the center of the town. All that's fine, but did they factor in the additional traffic that is blocking and locking East Milton Square? And the time it takes an ambulance to get here at certain times of the day. So using that space for an ambulance or an EMT that's on a motorcycle that's used in some countries now that have high traffic congestion, so that the EMT can get on site right away and help stabilize someone that might be injured or hurt or sick until the ambulance can get through the traffic to get there. So it would be a perfect place for a police substation where we could have walking patrols in East Milton once the 92 units open up, the other number went down the street. We're going to have a lot more activity at night in the square. People are going to the restaurants, there's very limited parking. People get frustrated, things like that. People are drinking. You don't know what this can add. It could become more volatile in East Milton Square without a little bit more patrolling going on and keeping the peace. So I think we really need to consider keeping it as an asset, police substation with walking patrols, EMT on an ambulance. The police car could park there. It's not as heavy as a fire truck. And we can wait. We might not get we might miss out on $1 million that we have made, Richard has said that he made a promise on. Well, maybe it'll be worth a lot more in 10 years or 20 years. I don't know. But we're going to get this building we're all in tonight. Why are we in this building? Why? Because the town doesn't own any space. This is rented out. This is rental space. We had the rental, the people that rent the space had to grant us the use to have this tonight. This building, there was time that this was thought that this building should be taken down for parking. So we need to really give this some thought. Not just this thing. We don't have enough information to make a decision. They talk about the Kidder Library. I can remember the school committee talking about the Kidder Library. They were thinking about using it, and then they were told it was going to cost so much just to make it handicapped accessible and everything. So there's all these issues that we have no clue about tonight because that wasn't presented beforehand. So this isn't a legitimate visioning session because you cannot vision on something when you're including visioning on things that are impossible to put there. So I really don't think that this was very helpful. Yeah, we all got our dreams. Oh, this was a dreaming session, not a visioning session. Okay, so I think that we just need to hold on to it, and we can get back together in a few years after we see what the gridlock is or isn't like, and things like that. John Driscoll, select board member, talked about, John, how many firefighters do we have in this town right now on any given day?
12, 11, or 12.
11 to 12. That's a concern, okay? We have new stations, that's good. They moved the station to where it is now because they can get faster to East Milton than the current station that's right in the traffic. That was one of the reasons that they selected that site, other than, you know, other things. So it's just, we need to wait on this.
Thank you for your comments. I see your hand, and I think, were you raising your hand as well? No? Okay.
I just want to say thank you for putting on a nice listening session, to have about what we can have in East Milton, and looking into being creative with what we're doing here.
Thank you. Thanks. Go ahead.
Say without, I think you have a lot of good points, you know, with holding on to it, but I thought this was very helpful to listen to everybody's point of view and different perspectives, stuff that I wouldn't have thought of before. But I do think that it is a bargaining chip and we should hold on to it as a town. But this was very helpful. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maybe you could go into, if you can, what the next steps are.
Yeah?
We have this.
Yeah, would you?
We have this session, what's the next step, and what's the time frame?
Yeah, I mean, we can wrap it in unless there's any.
Yeah, so we will wrap with next steps and time frame. I just want to make sure if there are any other final comments. And I would really invite, I know there are a few folks who have not shared tonight. I just want to make sure that if you have comments that you'd like to provide, that you can share them. So a specific invitation for folks who maybe haven't spoken yet, but just want to see if there are any final comments that you want to bring to the space.
We also didn't say youth center. Sorry. We said youth center.
Okay, youth center, yep. No, thank you. Okay, Nick, I'll pass it to you for next step.
I just want to thank you all again for coming out this evening. Spent a couple hours talking about this topic, so we appreciate your time. We appreciate Javier and Sasha for their work in coordinating and organizing the agenda. I could not have come up with some of these ideas in terms of how to facilitate the conversation, so that's why we brought them on, so we appreciate it. In terms of next steps, again, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be reporting back with the Select Board. Our next meeting is November 18th. We have a couple of meetings in December, talking about what next steps we want to take, and I think one of the guiding principles I've taken out of our previous conversations is trying to have a game plan for when that does close. We don't want a vacant space and a boarded up building at the heart of the square, for sure. I don't think that would be very welcoming to anybody. So I think in terms of trying to keep the ball moving and towards to have some concrete decisions on next steps over the course of the next year, as I mentioned, there could be town meeting votes required as part of this process. So lining those up to keep something moving forward. What that might be, obviously still to be determined, but I found this feedback helpful, and we appreciate your time. Obviously, any other feedback that you have, feel free to reach out to our office. You can stop in at Town Hall, shoot me an email, give me a call. Happy to take it, and any other questions, happy to help you out with. Thank you.